Settle yourself to a relaxed position in your seat. And just take some deep, calming, relaxing breaths and find that center. Let your awareness move to your immediate environment. All the things that you can smell, taste, touch, see, hear. And say to yourself, for this, I am grateful. Next, bring to mind those people in your life to whom you are close. Your friends, your partner, your family. And say to yourself, for this, I am grateful. Next, turn your attention onto yourself. You are a unique individual, blessed with imagination, the ability to communicate, to learn from the past, and plan for the future, to overcome any pain you may be experiencing. Say to yourself, for this, I am grateful. Finally, rest in the realization that life is a precious gift, that you have been born into a period of immense prosperity, that you have been given the gift of health, culture, and access to spiritual teachings. Say to yourself, for this, I am grateful. As you take another deep breath and bring your concentration and yourself back into this space now, into this room, and as they turn up the lights, turn to your neighbor and say, for you, I am grateful. Can we turn the lights back on?
Good picture.
Thank you. I was looking for a meditation on gratitude, and I can't pronounce the man's name, but it's from a book called Buddhism, Tools for Living Your Life. I'm not even going to try to mess that up. I know the last part is Gupta, but it's Bajra Gupta. So, good morning.
Good morning.
I am always so happy, I'm going to move up, and thrilled to be here, even though I get very nervous, and I plan, and then I change my talk at the last minute. But I do always write it down, so you just have to bear with me on that. I have something to tell you. I don't know about you, but I'm a work in progress. I'm always trying to improve myself. Yes, I love myself exactly the way I am, but I'm still trying to improve myself. As some of you may know, and now all of you are going to know, my house was flooded with the Hurricane Florence that came through, well, with the aftermath of Hurricane Florence, the rain. I'm very grateful. I don't think anybody else. I know that they had issues with heavy down trees and things like that, but I don't believe anybody else in the church actually had flooding. And I'm very grateful for that you didn't have to deal with, I'll say, this difficulty. And we'll talk about that word in a minute. Reverend Margaret asked me, when she asked me to talk, she goes, I want you to talk about what you've been going through with your experience. I said, okay. Well, first I have to tell you, several years ago, as some of you know, I started taking classes with Unity, and I think I took 50 or 60 classes. I don't know. I'm still taking classes. I love classes because I'm a work in progress. Well, at one of my classes, I was at Unity Village with Paul Hasselbeck. You might know him. He's a Unity minister and author. And we studied some of his books. I have to get my water that's hiding behind over here. This is what Dee was trying to move. My mouth has been dry. So I was in class with him, and he asked a question to the class. I don't remember what it was, but I remember my answer. So I remember that I answered him, and I told him about the flood that we had a couple years ago. And he looked at me and he said, I say this, he came over to me, he says, I say this with love and kindness. So, of course, when someone says that to me, my first inclination is to go. I put a smile on my face and think to myself, you can take whatever it is they're going to say to you. He says, but you realize that you were in victim mode that entire situation. And of course, I don't play poker because I know that I can't play poker. I don't have a poker face. All the emotions, you said what? But after a couple seconds, I turned to my friend and I said, oh my gosh, she's right. Because, you can think your entire life will drop through your head in just a matter of a few seconds. You don't have to think about each moment. And I knew that he was right. And at that point, I decided that was something I needed to change. I needed to decide if I was going to react or respond to situations. If I was going to worry about them. If I was going to be the victim, the villain, or the hero in any situation. It's easy to be the victim. We all want to be the hero, Or was I going to think about what the situation was and respond. Was I going to be balanced in that situation? I have a slide for you. Oops. Oops, I forgot that one. I like this. It says, let go, let God. If you know me at all, as I just did, I pause a lot in my speaking. Some people think it's because I'm giving you time to think about what I said. It really isn't, but that sounds good. I'm just very careful with the words that I speak. I've always been that way. Part of it was I used to be extremely, extremely shy. So I was always thinking about, actually I was trying to pull the words out of my head. But these days it's more of, am I reacting or am I responding? Am I listening? Am I consciously, actively listening to what this person is saying to me? Or am I just sitting here waiting for them to stop talking? So this has kind of become my norm. So when I pause or when I look at you, I might get a little blank stare in my eyes. All these things are flitting through my head. It's kind of like blah, 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 really quickly. But it's become normal. It's become second nature. I don't really think about it anymore. So when people have said to me how relaxed I've been through this flood and the resulting cleanup, I didn't really think about it a whole lot because, well, the water was coming. I had to move my stuff out. I just had to deal with it. But I have come across a few truths lately. So this one says, there's a little girl up there. This one says, don't wait for things to get better. Life is always complicated. Learn to be happy right now. Otherwise, you'll run out of time. Or in Lesta's words, it's always something.
Take that with Roseanne at the end.
That might be her too. The second one here is, how deep is the mud? It depends on who you ask. We all go through the same stuff differently. Or in Lesta's words, don't compare yourself with others. Okay? I have friends that I had 2 feet of water in my house. I have friends that had 54 inches of water in their house. But I'm not comparing myself to others. We all had water in our house. We had difficulty. A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. This is why I've decided to call this flood the difficulty. Yes, it's been difficult, but let me tell you a quick story. So all these people are in my house, and they're moving everything. It's before the flood. It's after the storm, before the flood, and they're moving everything out of my house into storage units. And my niece, who has this very sarcastic wit, she comes over to me and she goes, you remember a couple months ago when you said to me you would really like to empty your garage and put it into a storage unit? And I said, yes. She goes, you're welcome. I love her. I not only put my stuff into one storage unit, we ended up with 3. But that's another story. I like this one, so this is kind of my filler. I like that. Let go, let God. So with this difficulty, like I said, you can react or you can respond in a variety of ways. And you're always going to have things going on in your life. It could be going home or going out to the car in the morning. You got to get to work and you're late and you have a flat tire. That's a difficulty. Your car won't start. That's a difficulty. I have to go to the dermatologist last week and do a full body scan. That's a difficulty. It could be, I ran out of cream and I'm not going to have any cream for my coffee tomorrow morning. That's not just a difficulty for me, that's a difficulty for you. You know, I wasn't laughing this much when I was writing this. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I'm very private. I'm very open about a lot of things, but I'm extremely private about a lot of things. And my home is my private place, okay? I can actually tell you that I've been there, I can't believe we've been there 21 years, and I can tell you exactly who I've invited into my house. I don't have a lot of people over. It isn't that I'm not social. I love people. I love to see people, but this storm, this flood, this difficulty got me thinking about that. Why don't you invite people into your house? And I realized it's from an old, embedded thought. In my old house, I didn't have central heat and air. And it was really hot in the summer. And it was really cold in the winter. And I hated inviting people over because, well, it was hot. It was cold, you know. And I realized I've been in this house 21 years and I have central heat and air. But I know that a lot of that's due to that old thinking. So this flood actually helped me learn a lesson there.
I'll be over tomorrow.
You can come over today, the door's probably open because I'm not back there yet. But come on. But you might have to bring a chair.
I got my chairs in my car.
Okay.
And she'll bring coffee.
That's even better. That's even better. Y'all are getting good. So I live on the bottom floor. So of course I'm the one that, my area is the one that got wet. My mother and sister live upstairs. It's I love living like this because I have family around me all the time, but I have my own door, and it has a lock on it. Not that I ever have to lock it. I usually just leave it open, but unless I'm going to sleep or something. But it's just nice to have family there, but I have my own space or my own suite. It's about 650 square feet. Bedroom, or I'll say bed area, bedroom area, living room, kitchen. Well, it's not a real kitchen. It doesn't have an oven, but, and then an art studio, bathroom. You know, it's plenty of space for one person. I have a tiny home and a big home. But one thing that I had to learn, this was another lesson that I've learned. One thing I had to learn was the act of giving and receiving. I'm very good at giving. I'm not very good at receiving. Or I wasn't. I've learned this lesson this time. And I realized that I had to, that by receiving, by opening myself up to receiving, I was allowing people to give. I find it really hard to ask people for help. But I learned that this past a few weeks ago, because I couldn't do it by myself. And by opening myself to allowing other people to give, I opened myself to allow them to love me. Okay? That's kind of hard. I can give you love, non-judgmental love, every day of the week. I love each and every one of you, and I would do whatever you need. Even if it's just sitting there with you and not doing anything other than sitting and just being and holding space with you. I'm open to that. Or we could go to the movies. That would be fun too. But I realized that I had to change that. And I had to do it quickly. I went to bed Thursday night knowing that people that I did not know were coming to my house Friday morning. I was going to expose everything in my house to them to pack up. And I couldn't pack it all up. So when I woke up the next morning, this is the way I am. I will think on something, and I go to bed, and when I wake up, it might take several nights sometimes, but usually when I wake up, I'm good with it. I've processed it over through the night. It's the same way I do art. I may plan it in my head how I want to do a piece of art, and then the next morning when I wake up, I've made it in my head. I go in my art room, pull out my supplies because I'm ready to go. Even my sister said, "I can't believe you're okay with letting these people in your house." And I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. What was my other choice? I could choose to be grumpy, let's say, or I could choose to be happy with it. And I chose to be happy with it. I chose to respond to it. I'm not going to get into how many people came or what they did because I get very emotional. So grateful. We got about 90% of my stuff out. The rest of the stuff, we just moved up. So when the waters came, nothing got messed up in my house except the walls. And an old refrigerator that I didn't want anyway. So I'm going to show you some dates. I don't know if you know that, but Hurricane Florence actually formed, it wasn't a hurricane at the time, but it formed August 30th. That's a long time ago. It's November. And people are probably into December and January, probably this time next year. There are some people that lost their entire house that are still going to be dealing with this difficulty. Let's see. So the 13th and 14th is when, that was a Thursday and a Friday, that's when hurricane, the eye actually came the 14th, but it was such a huge storm, it really affected us for several days. And then the 19th, which was the following Wednesday, water actually came up over our seawall. Because during the storm, the water was actually very low. I live on the Intracoastal. I think I forgot to tell you that. I live on water. I actually had a houseboat for a little while. Some of you got that. So that Friday and Saturday, we removed all of my household goods, or the majority of them. Then we ended up, there was just things we had to do to prepare for the flooding and everything. We removed the HVAC units from outside. They came and got them and moved them, I don't know, to their warehouse. And on the 24th, that Monday, I evacuated. Just to give you a time frame, that's when everybody was leaving here and going to Cayuga. It was the end of September. And I will say that Cayuga refunded my money. Thank you very much. Or UMass did. Well, Cayuga did also, because they didn't charge UMass. So I evacuated to Charlene's home. Charlene offered me her home. I stayed there for, I think, 11 or 12 days. And we were out of the house for 9 days before we could actually get back, drive to the house. Because that's what FEMA requires. They have to be able to walk in the house. They require to be able to drive up to the house so they can get in it and take pictures, which they did. On Tuesday, and then everything, we started to clean up that Wednesday, and on October 5th, well actually a couple of days before that, I put on Facebook that I needed a winter rental, and a friend of mine texted me and gave me her house. And I'm still there. I have a 3-bedroom house and I'm just in by myself, but it's so wonderful to have friends that do that for you. Now I want to put some things into perspective. In Swansboro, North Carolina, they got almost 31 inches of rain. That I think was the highest in one place. Now you have to know that whatever happens north of us comes south. They estimate that it was 18 trillion gallons of water. That's enough water to cover the state of Texas in 4 inches of water. That's a lot of water. So I took this picture on October 18th. We were cleaning up. It's a rose bush that sits right outside. I have a little enclosed porch. The rose bush that sits right outside the enclosed porch. And I wrote this on Facebook. Even after being submerged in 3 to 4 feet of nasty, stanky water for over 3 weeks, this rose bush blossomed. There's a lesson here. No matter what happens, we have the strength inside of us to keep going, no matter what. We must recognize that God is always with us. Always there. We need to remember that, and this is God's reminder. This also reminded me of the lilies of the field. Luke 12, 27 through 29. I'm going to read this from the New Revised Standard Version. Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will God clothe you, ye of little faith? And do not keep striving for that, what you are to eat and what you are to drink. And do not keep worrying. I think everybody else is worrying more about me than I'm worrying about me. And I'm grateful for them for that. But I think the one question that I hear the most is, when are you going to get back into your house? And my answer is, when it's finished. There are a lot of people out there dealing with the aftermath of the flooding. We're all going through the same things differently. People have been so kind and loving and giving. My heart just overflows when I think about it. And it has just lifted me so much. I know there's love and goodness in the world, but to see it just makes it even bigger. So I'm going to show you a couple quick pictures. Whoops. So the picture on the left is you're standing in my living room, looking out my French doors, out my enclosed porch to the water. And the glossing on the bottom is water. You can see the reflection in the water that's in my house. The other picture on the right is you're standing with the French doors behind you, looking into my living room, and that pipe across there. They installed 3 sump pumps, trying to keep the water out as much as possible. This was actually, we left the house on Monday. This was Tuesday. And I don't know if it was my brother-in-law or my nephew-in-law, but one of them sent me this picture. They had waiters, and they would go in every day and check on things and replace the gas and the generator and all that. And he sent me this picture, and I texted this. I think I texted the picture on the right to several people. And I'm sitting in Charlene's house all by myself, and I'm just sitting there looking at this picture. And I could just feel it it's one thing to know something, it's another to see it. And so one of my best friends called me, and it just took, "How you doing?" And I just started crying. And the best thing, he did the best thing he could have done. He just sat there with me crying. I don't think he was crying, but I was crying. He was just holding that space for me. And when I got done, I said, I've been wanting to cry all week. That's the best thing that has happened to me. I've just been wanting to get that emotion out. And I was good once I did that. That's just this is actually afterwards. This is a good picture, but it's hard to see it, but you can see where the water was up a couple of feet. This is afterwards. The one on the left, you can see the sheetrocks on the floor, and they've pulled out a lot of stuff. They went ahead and pulled out in the sheetrock a whole board up. And then on the right, it's a few weeks later, someone's in there. That's actually the electrician changing some things around for me. This is outside. We have a shed out there, and you can see the water got to, it actually is below the door handle. It actually got above the door handle. And the one on the other side is, you can't see that, but a friend of mine has Tom and Dee's power washer, and she's helping me clean some of the things outside. Whoops, go back, go back. So this is a picture of our dock, okay, on the water. And what I want you to see is, I don't know if there's a pointer here. I think there is, but I don't know how to use it. Over on the left-hand side, there's this little pump. It's just a metal pump from an old pump. And one of the pictures, as they were showing me pictures, I could still see the pump. Yes. As they were making pictures, when my brother-in-law and my nephew-in-law would go out there, I could still see the pump. And then one day I realized I couldn't see the pump anymore. Now this picture, I tried to take it. It's so hard to take a selfie by yourself. But the pump came up to here on me. So the water got over that, is what I'm trying to say. Just trying to give you some perspective. So I'm gonna, on the left, that's my mother's shed. There's a sign across the door. Patty and Ann saw it when they were there. And it says, the most important things in life aren't things. And I just kind of like that. And it's kind of how I think of this whole process. I'm still here, and that's what's important. So I want to leave you with this. Are you a pessimist or an optimist? Do you react or do you respond? Are you willing to be happy with the way things are right now? Because it's always going to be something.
So a second thought, I won't go to your house tomorrow?
I think that is one of the most powerful lessons we have had in a while. That was very, very inspiring. To learn how to receive, to learn the lessons and all of that. You done good, dear.